Hello and welcome to a look at Body Blows for the Amiga, a game that was released by Team17. As I've mentioned before, if there's an AGA version available of the game, I will be covering that particular version, and that is indeed the case in relation to this game. It is the AGA version I am covering. As you can likely imagine, Body Blows is a fighting game, and as you can also likely imagine, most fighting games' plotline is about as thin as cling film. So we're not going to worry too much about any potential plotline in this title, because the basic premise is that you have 10 different fighters who want to meet up and beat the stuffing out of each other. So that's what they do. The cast of characters include 10 characters, as I was just saying, and you can perhaps complain a bit about the fact that there's only a single female character among the 10 available. I suppose some representation is better than no representation, but yeah. The different characters have different fighting styles and move sets and that kind of stuff. And this game definitely took inspiration from a certain arcade title called Street Fighter. Because of course in Street Fighter you have Ryu and Ken having identical fighting styles, and in this particular title Nick and Dan, or Danny, are copying that concept. They both fight in identical ways even though they look slightly different. Once you have picked a fighter, game was going to select an opponent randomly and then send you to a random location where you can duke it out and try to defeat your opponent before your opponent defeats you. And if you should win, you will move on to face a slightly tougher opponent, and so on and so on, which is part of the course for games type of this style. The game features quite a few options for multiplayer gaming, where you can play against other players, of course, locally, hot seat kind of stuff. And while that is likely a driving factor of this particular game, because I'm by myself, I have no way of testing how that plays out even. So I can only evaluate this game as a single player title, and that is what I will do. Let us cover the technical side of things, because this is something that's going to be rather controversial, I think. The general premise is that the graphics in this game are looking good. I think that's up for debate. I think the graphics are decent. I don't think the graphics are spectacular. And backgrounds and that kind of stuff looks perfectly acceptable, but again, nothing standing out as being exceptionally good. What's much worse is the fact that the animation is incredibly lacking, and that means that all the fighters feel, well, they look, but also feel incredibly stiff. It feels like no care was taken into trying to make this look incredibly good beyond the graphical quality in and by itself, and is a bit of a pain point, to be honest. When it comes to sound effects, they are of a perfectly decent quality, and they are somewhat fitting for the game and the game type. Certain of the characters' voiceovers are a bit goofy, I think is a proper phrase, but by and large, run of the mill for fighting games, so I guess I can't complain about that. The music is excellent. I will give the music the praise it deserves, because it definitely deserves praise. It fits the game incredibly well. It's quite funky, it's quite hip, and if nothing else, it at least showcased Amiga's sound capabilities to a certain extent. and the music side of things I'm very, very happy about. Controls though, and this is something that I find to be an incredibly obnoxious pain point. Because considering the year this game was released, not having the option in the options menu to play with a 2-button joystick, because you could have gained access to a 2-button joystick or perhaps a Sega controller of some description, but no such thing is available, meaning that every bit of control is done with a single button joystick, and you can likely imagine, of course, fighting games have to be very, very spiffy in the selection of moves and special moves and all that kind of stuff, and when you try to tie that to a single joystick with a single fire button, it becomes incredibly clumsy. And that is definitely the case when it comes to this title. It feels crowded when you are trying to control characters, and one of the more powerful moves is tied to just holding on the fire button. It will fill out a bar that you've got under your character portrait thing. And the nice little touch is the fact that once you start using that special move, it will take longer and longer to charge it up to sort of try to balance it up. But the AI, of course, doesn't seem to have that restriction. When it comes to the game as a whole, Body Blows was, I don't know for a fact that it was the case, but it definitely feels like it was Team17's attempt at redeeming the fighting games genre on the Amiga. I think there's a little question about the fact that fighting games in general on the Amiga were questionable at best. But if that was the idea, then I hate to say it, but it failed rather flat. Something I found rather alarming about this title was the fact that the review scores in general were in the 90+ range, and something that I found interesting was one specific review where they did a comparison box between this title and other fighting games for the Amiga, and it was claimed even that this title was distinctively better than the arcade conversion of Street Fighter 2. But in my opinion, that is a bit like saying that getting a punch in the face is better than getting a kick in the balls. It's probably going to be less painful, but it's still going to hurt. And as a single-player experience, there's too many niggly bits for this game that makes it incredibly difficult to enjoy. When it comes to the Amiga, I have never denied that it is my favorite home computer of all time, and there are two very good reasons for that. First and foremost, the first time I ever used one, it felt incredibly natural very, very quickly. And secondly, it gave me access to games that wasn't available on other systems that was within my reach at the time. Things like simulation games and strategy games and role-playing games and that kind of stuff. But I am still a gamer, and one of my absolute favorite category of games is beat-em-ups. I could sit here and say that anything but the Amiga sucks, but that would make me look like a complete idiot, because I would cut myself off from other gaming experiences that could be positive. And I used to own a Sega Master System myself, and spent quite a bit of money on games for it. And I absolutely fully enjoyed the games that I bought for it, but it was a very, very specific console-esque games like arcade conversions and beat-em-ups and that kind of stuff. And I would never sit here and knock the Sega Master System because it was an 8-bit console. I enjoyed it for what it was, and I found it to be absolutely excellent, and it covered the gaming needs I had in that direction. Body Blues, unfortunately, is a showcase of another beat-em-up failure on the Amiga. It tries hard, but it doesn't try hard enough. It may look pretty-ish, it may sound great, but it's very, very heavy, and the AI resorts to spamming special moves all the blinking time, which gets incredibly frustrating. On that note, thanks for watching. Take care. I'll see you next time. Bye bye for now.